Hey, Alexi, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine. Fine.
Are you colleagues with Dennis by any chance?
Yes, yes, right.
Okay, excellent. I think I have reviewed a couple of PRs from you, and yeah, that's great. I'm glad to have you continue to contribute to the project. It's great. We'll get started in just a couple minutes here. I think a few more folks I know are going to join.
Hello, Dennis.
All right.
Hey, Dennis, welcome. Glad to have you today.
Thanks. Hey,
Hey,
all. Hey, Nico. I guess we'll give it a few minutes. We'll see the ones that can join. Well, I'll give it one more minute and then I'll get started. All right, I guess let's get started. So yeah, welcome everyone to our February FireFly community call. As always, these are the community guidelines. This meeting is being recorded, so if you do not agree with the Hyperledger antitrust policy notice and you don't feel like you want to be in this meeting, which is recorded, feel free to drop now if that's the case. All right. So I guess on the agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming FireFly 1.3 release. Nico will give us an update and a status on how that's progressing, and then we'll open to any discussions that any folks want to talk about. So Nico, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Enrique. Appreciate you facilitating today's call. And just a quick note, I do need to drop after probably 10 or 15 minutes here. So I'll try to get through the status on 1.3 and we can wrap up there. So, or I will wrap up there, but can everybody see my screen here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just kind of wanted to talk through where we're at with 1.3. I've got a lot of questions in Discord, like, hey, when's it coming? When's it coming? And I couldn't be more eager than anyone else to to get it done and get it out there. It's the thing that I've been focused on the last few weeks, along with my colleague Sam May has just been really heads down on helping get through this list, and we've made some really good progress. So this is the milestone for like the things that are still open, and I'm happy to report that like all of these are in progress, and most of them are close to done. So you may not be able to gather that information directly from just looking at this milestone, but I'll just kind of walk through the list of remaining things. Reworking event streams in FireFly Core and in the blockchain plugins is that there are PRs open for it. The migration is tested. It just needs code review and any feedback. The PR for FireFly Core has already been reviewed. The token connectors are just the outstanding review there. So those two are really close to closing out. Along with that, this bug was also fixed in those same PRs as well, because I ran into that bug as a result of testing the migration of this work. Sam has opened a PR for the docs updates for 1.3. There are still a couple small things that we want to add there, and just some touch-ups on the release notes that will kind of come in right at the end, right when we're ready. Yeah, moving down the list, third-party dependencies. There are PRs open for all. Okay, I take that back. I'm working on the last one this morning. The ERC 1155 token connector, I still need to open the PR for, but pretty much have all known security vulnerabilities addressed and dependencies updated and that sort of thing. We're also worth noting, I don't think this was mentioned on a community call yet, but if you go look at the open PRs, there is, it got merged already. There's a community member contributed a check that we're adding across all the repos that uses a security dependency scanning tool against a database of known CVEs. And this adds it to the build. And this will basically, if it checks as a part of the GitHub action now, if you're making any changes and it finds any open issues or known security vulnerabilities with anything that you pulled into the project, it will flag it, and they need to be addressed before merging a PR now. So there was a bit of tidy up work that needed to be done, but before we could make that PR happy. But that's been done now, and so the last repo that needs that update to get those dependencies cleaned up is the 1155 connector, which I should be opening the PR here for today. I'll pause there. Any questions on any of that so far? Cool. Okay. Fire 17 had a chat with so Andrew Richardson is the original author of Fire 17, and for those of you who may be unaware, this is the proposal for the ability to attach or link on-chain messages with or off-chain payloads that are pinned with a FireFly message to a custom contract function. So in the same way, as an example, that you can send a transfer with our tokens APIs and attach a message to it, you could do the same thing now with any custom function on a contract. The contract has to have a parameter that supports it, and you have to be running a newer, like 1.3 or a build from main of FireFly to do it, and you have to have the corresponding batch pin contract to support that. But all those things are outlined in that feature proposal. There's a little bit of work to do still to provide an API that, given the power and the flexibility that this new functionality gives you, it does open up some possibilities, like if you do it wrong, to get a particular topic, a messaging topic, completely stuck in basically FireFly retrying a batch forever that will never work. And so we need to add another API to basically get yourself unstuck in that situation. So that is like the one small remaining piece of work that's still outstanding. And then the last one here is just hardening for the release. And so Sam and I just, as you can see, he commented 19 minutes ago. We were just having a conversation about this. Just the checklist of things that we need to do when the first release candidate is cut, going back through migration testing. We've done migration testing on major feature branches like the event streams branch that I worked on. So no major concerns that new big issues will be discovered there, but it's the exercise we need to go through, as well as running performance regression tests and just sanity checking the major functionality of the release candidate. So all that being said, I anticipate we can probably expect the first release candidate. I'm hopeful that probably sometime next week we will have the first release candidate to cut the remaining functionality to fix the kind of to get you unstuck in Fire 17 may come in a follow-up release candidate, depending on the timing of that and just when people's cycles are available. But I anticipate that we'll be able to kick off the migration testing and performance testing in earnest sometime after next week. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm hopeful that we'll have some solid release candidates here in the next couple of weeks and a release not long thereafter. But that's where everything is at right now. So yeah, that's all I've got. Any questions from? I know we've got a bunch of maintainers on today, which is awesome, and some other folks that have been just very active in contributing to the project. And just thank you all for everything that you contributed. Really appreciate it.
Maybe general question. For smaller services like blockchain connectors or signer service, we do the patches all the time, like in a small period of time. But for the core, like there were no releases for half a year. With what it's related, like why don't we do the patches all the time, like for other services?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think probably something that as maintainers we should probably discuss. And I'm frankly I'm not pleased that it's been so long since there's been a major release in FireFly core. We can at some point we can go into reasons. As to why, it's probably a variety of reasons. As to should we do it more often? Yes, I think so. And so I would like to get better at that going forward. We do patch releases more frequently than I probably the biggest reason is there's been major new functionality that's been added. And so that merits a feature release. And those are fewer and further between.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep.
There are always new functionality, like you just need to release it all the time to not have situation like this.
No, it's good feedback though. Thank you, Dennis.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. Any more questions for Nico? Okay, awesome, Nico. Thanks for the update. All right, I guess we'll just open it up to anyone who has any questions, any thoughts, any feedback, anything's appreciated. Go ahead. I guess silence says everyone's happy. There's no problems whatsoever.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to both Enrique and Matthew Whitehead, just for helping out in the Discord server and just answering people's questions as they come in. It's especially with you guys being in an earlier time zone, it's always wonderful when I wake up and see that questions have already been answered while I was sleeping. And so just wanted to just a quick shout out there. Thanks for the help there.
No worries. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm happy to end the call there. And if any conversations around maybe the patching, we can move that to Discord and maybe schedule some time to chat over that.
Yeah, sorry, I know
Yeah.
you just asked and now I'm
Go ahead.
just chipping in. Yeah, this came out a fairly long thread yesterday on Discord, and I guess one area that I see a possibility for a bit of enhancement around Firefly is maybe just the CLI argument validation and maybe just help text. I don't know, some combination of that. It's certainly possible to give the Firefly CLI some arguments, which I think in some cases would just be ignored because other ones have been used. So the one that we had on Discord yesterday was someone saying, I want to connect to Besu with -n Besu, but also setting a remote RPC URL. And those two are kind of doing two orthogonal things. I think only one of them gets used. So I think maybe it would be an area I'd be able to spend some time on over the coming kind of couple of months to make it easier to avoid getting yourself into a situation where the stack you've created is not really what you wanted or what you thought you were getting.
Yeah. I guess there's an issue for that, and then there's more documentation. I think Sam and I chatted about the other day around having this ability of running a multi-party setup with Firefly CLI, but then have another multi-party node outside of it, and being able to add it to an existing setup is very difficult. So having documentation around to help out will be maybe two different issues: one around multi-party documentation CLI, and one around arguments cleanup.
Yeah.
So to be fair, that specific issue you're talking about with having a node that's running outside the multi-party network, we then documented that within the issue that was worked under, but there isn't a documentation entry for it specifically. Okay. So there is some work already in that area existing that we could build from, but yeah, it's down to what would be clearest for people running the project.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good thoughts. I think as maintainers, if we want to see things move in a different direction going forward, it's a worthy discussion to have. I think just for context, the Firefly CLI, the original intent of the Firefly CLI was not to create it's actually not to create a distributed deployment. As ironic as that sounds, like it's intended to create a centralized deployment of a distributed system, but all on one machine. So that my original goal was like, hey, I want to, like, when I'm on an airplane flying to a conference, like I want to be able to run Firefly on my laptop and like do work. Now, granted, my laptop is now too big to actually get work done on an airplane, but that's a different issue. But like I want to be able to work with this whole thing offline, all on one machine, and that's kind of been the kernel of the core of the Firefly CLI's functionality. But like I said, if we want to revisit that or things like that going forward, more than happy to discuss that.
Yeah.
While we're on the topics of documentation that would be useful to have, this is a great topic for a community call, by the way. Just reflecting on questions that I get a lot in Discord that take a lot of explanation. One, a document on how signing works in Firefly is, I think, something that would be really useful to be able to point people to. And I'm happy to work on it at some point. I just haven't had cycles to actually sit down and write the thing. There's lots of threads where I explain it on a monthly basis to someone in great detail, but just the fact that, like, because folks approach the project from all over the place. They're like, oh, I've used MetaMask, so does it work? And it's like, no, it doesn't work quite like MetaMask, but it does the same things, but it does them differently. I'm like, well, how do I use a key that I already have, or like how do I create a new key, or where do transactions get signed? Who signs them? How do I control who's allowed to sign? All these sorts of things. And I just like it feels like we have a page missing in the docs that covers a lot of these topics in some detail.
It's a really good point. I'm taking notes while you're going through this, so I'll raise some issues.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Nico, it's Sean here. Thanks for sharing the original purpose of FireFly CLI. I guess the reason people ask for multi-party support for the CLI is because there's a need in the Discord to set up such system with some guidance. So most of the time, we just tell people, here's how to do it, hack some YAMLs. As far as I can see, I think there is a FireFly Helm repository, which might haven't been loved for a while. Do you think that's probably a better place to put the multi-party setup?
I think Sam gave it some love very recently, and it should be good to go for a 1.3 release coming up shortly. But yes, that's generally the direction that I steer people, is like, hey, if you need this to run on more than just a developer laptop, like you should really be looking at something like Kubernetes. And here's a Helm chart to help you get started with that as an example of like how one might deploy FireFly and its services to Kubernetes.
Awesome. Is that linked to our documentation? Just point you to that Helm chart repo is just self-discovery. Because when people come in to look at project, it just jump into
It should be. It should be. I think the FireFly, I'll just pull up the. Yeah, there's a link to it in the FireFly README.
Let me share my screen again because I'm just documenting everything, make sure that I've not missed everything that we chat about. So race issues. So there's a set of issues. There is one around the FireFly CLI arguments raised by Matt. But I'll raise that one as well. There is one around documentation for signer and keys, just a general introduction to that. Raised by Nico. And then there was a multi-party setup and documentation. Both raised by Sam and Chung. So I'll raise those issues so we can start the discussions, and then we can see what decisions. Oh, and there was one more around patching. Maybe that's more of a discussion around patch releases of FireFly.
Well, and to Dennis's point, or maybe even just more frequent feature releases, like there's always new functionality going in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as a future community call topic, just a detailed discussion about release strategy would be a great thing to talk about.
Sounds good. Anything else people want to raise? All right, awesome. I thought that was really, really useful discussion. Thanks for the 1.3 update, Nico. And I guess I'll end the call there.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Great.
everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Catch you there. Bye.
Yeah.